Okay, what's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great Monday, May 16th, coming off another weekend of excellent PGA Tour action over at the Byron Nelson. Great to have you with us, folks. Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen will be joining you for the next 45 minutes or so to discuss a couple of sporty things that Jeff Ulrich he's got specialties in. We'll start with golf, the PGA Championship this week, and then we'll look ahead to the NHL postseason. Then there were 8, everybody. The field has shrunk from 16 to 8. We've got 4 matchups on the board, 2 games tomorrow. Tampa, Florida. How about that? Florida representing well in the NHL playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs. I should be saying that properly. And then Blues Avalanche, and then Wednesday, Rangers, Hurricanes, and then a Battle of Alberta on Wednesday. Edmonton and Calgary. Yep, Edmonton moving on. That's good.
The exciting times where I live, man. I tell you, Battle of Alberta. Yep. If you were alive in the 80s in Alberta, which I actually was, sadly. Not that it was a bad time here, just that I'm old. You know, people in Edmonton and Calgary hate each other when it comes to hockey, just in general too. Calgary sucks.
Makes a lot of sense why you were on Dallas. You were hoping for Dallas to come through. They were up 1-0 last night and couldn't hang on. So it's Edmonton, Calgary in the next round. Anyways, Jeff, what do you got for us in terms of coming off the weekend here at the Byron Nelson and looking ahead to the PGA Championship?
Yeah, man. I mean, big week, obviously playoffs, but let's talk PGA to start. Byron Nelson, again, like it's obviously what you're getting at the Byron Nelson versus what you're getting this week is going to be completely polar opposite. Southern Hills, from everything I've seen and heard and looked at and everything and set up and read about, whatever, we've all read the same stuff. It sounds like it's going to be a really good major championship venue. They've redesigned the course. It's like firm and fast weather is in the cards. There's no heavy rains or anything like that. The greens sound like they could be like they're smaller than normal, which is just like for a major championship, that makes it tough to hit, which means more scrambling. And then you got runoff areas, which are going to be tightly mowed. I think it's going to play like to a kind of 6 to 8 under par winner kind of thing, which is great in my opinion for a major championship. So it's also a long course. It's 7,500 yards and a par 70. The 2 par 5s that are on the course are well over 600 yards. And I'm talking like 630. One of them 650. So like ain't nobody reaching. Even Bryson probably ain't reaching that thing in 2. So like it's going to be a competitive. Birdies are going to be hard to come by. You're going to have to scramble. You're going to have to really like just be sharp with your iron play. If you're not hitting the ball well in your approach, like the bogeys will come in waves. So I think it's going to be a good week, and it's going to be completely polar opposite. Now, that doesn't mean that you fade the golfers that played well last week, because we have seen historically the golfers who play in that event. And we don't have like that much data to go back on, but like Brooks Koepka played in the Byron Nelson, was like 3rd, came and won the PGA Championship a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Justin Thomas played pretty well the year before he won the PGA. Colin Morikawa, same thing. Generally, what we've seen is players coming in with a little bit of momentum. And I'm not saying you have to play everyone who played last week, but you should be starting sort of to just, keep an eye on the players that did well there and make sure that if you're backing anyone else, that they're also coming off a strong performance, because there's not a big gap between the Masters and PGA. So if your guy was sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything, or if he just missed a couple cuts in a row, like it's not really a good scene. Mm-hmm. They're probably not going to pop up and win this thing. So that's what we got to think about for the outrights, especially. Obviously, the odds and stuff come into play too, and you got them up. And I mean, right off the bat, Jordan Spieth coming in at plus 1,800. I've seen him at plus 2,000 in places. I think he was even plus 2,200 over the weekend on the DraftKings Sportsbook. But I got to say, even at plus 1,800, like the fact you're getting a bigger number than him on DraftKings, than Rory, Morikawa, and Cantlay, it's pretty hard not to like Jordan Spieth the way he's playing. Absolutely crushing the ball, really consistent off the tee. 2nd last week. He's always had good run-ups into majors in his last 3 major championship wins. So I can't really put anyone off that number. I think of the players under 2,000, you're certainly getting the best value on him. I mean, I think Jordan Spieth has a very realistic chance of winning this week. And like I said, he's bigger than Cantlay, Rory, And even Morikawa. It's hard for me to talk bad about Morikawa because he's been so good in majors in his young career. But Spieth at plus 1,800 is I wouldn't put anyone off that.
Okay. I think, yeah, it's something we talked about last week. You're consistent on this, coming off how golfers perform the week before their previous event. You have it written in your article on the DraftKings playbook, which was posted in the last hour. You can find at dknation.draftkings.com in the PGA section. 6 of the past 9 winners of the PGA Championship finished top 15 or better in their last start before winning this event. You referenced Morikawa and Thomas. I hope folks held off because I remember it's all coming back to me now. Brooks Koepka is at plus 4,500, Jeff, for this week after It was so bizarre, right? He was shorter than plus 2,000, definitely, but his odds were at plus 30, maybe I think it was 30 to 1 at one point when you were looking at last week. So there's
Koepka dropped out. Yeah. Like Koepka, we said this too. Like I mentioned it. Like you're probably going to see Koepka's number at the PGA drop dramatically, and then when he dropped out, obviously, bookmakers probably saw that as probably an injury concern, maybe, or they just, regardless of if it is an injury concern or not, just not having that run in like some of these other players have had, like Rahm, even a guy like Cantlay, who's maybe taken a few weeks off, but went runner-up, playoff loss, and win in his 2 starts. Like I get that Brooks Koepka's plus 4,500, and that's a big number for Brooks Koepka in a major.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily know if you need to bet him, but it is big enough. Let's put it this way: it's big enough that you can bet Brooks Koepka this week and feel good about it because that number is so big. Like at plus 4,500, he has been in contention at a couple points this year. The game has been up and down, but there's nothing that says like, oh, we've got a big injury concern to worry about. It's just seems like he just didn't feel like playing last week. So plus 4,500. Again, the number is big enough. You also have like Daniel Berger there, who I don't hate, but I think that if you're looking over plus 2,000, I mentioned, that kind of run-in that you're looking for, right? So got a few other players up here that I think really need to be hit on, because I think that when you're looking at in the plus 2,000 range, you got 3 guys at the same time. You get Schauffele, Lowry, and Matsuyama at plus 2,800 there. And those guys should be firmly on your short list, if not like making your betting card this week. Of the 3, I probably like Schauffele the most. I just feel like, I think it's really close between him and Hideki. And if you're choosing between the 2 and you choose Hideki, it's not like I'd be completely, I'd understand it. I just like Schauffele's upside. I love the way he plays. He's tougher major championship setups. 5 top 10s in 5 US Open appearances. I think Southern Hills, which has hosted US Opens in the past, is going to be a very US Open-like setup. It was redesigned by Gil Hance, the guy who redesigned Winged Foot, where Schauffele finished, I think, 5th there in 2020. I just like this number. He shot 61 on Sunday. His approach game and off the tee been very, very consistent. And, he was gaining strokes putting and around the greens last week. I think Schauffele is a major championship winner, and at plus 2,800, I'll take that number. Again, like, Cantlay's a plus 1,600. I like Cantlay if you can get him at like plus 2,000 or better, but I don't think there's that much between him and Schauffele this week. I think it's pretty close between those 2, and I don't think that the difference should be like Schauffele at 2,800 and Cantlay at 1,600. So I like that number on Xander Schauffele. That's probably where I would go first. I think Matsuyama and Lowry could easily make betting cards for people, though. I may even add one of those guys, who knows, but definitely on Schauffele at plus 2,800. I like that number. If you can get it, that's where I would go in that range.
You mentioned Matsuyama and Jordan Spieth as well. From a DFS standpoint, you think these are 2 guys to start with in cash games?
Yeah, no, like from a DFS standpoint, this is a week where, you can definitely start under 10K. Right. There's no doubt in my mind. Like starting with Jordan Spieth is fine, but you can add in 2 other guys. We haven't even talked about Viktor Hovland yet, who may actually go like a little bit because he's sandwiched in between Spieth and Rory. Viktor Hovland could definitely go under own. So for GPPs, I wouldn't forget about him. But, again, you're making a more balanced cash game approach. Matsuyama, Cantlay. We haven't even talked about Dustin or Cam Smith. Like, you can start with 3 of those guys. and then target the 7K range because there's plenty of value. It's a major championship. We all know that salaries get pushed down. And even in the low 7K range, very playable guys this week who I actually really like. Some of them I think even have a realistic shot at perhaps contending, some of them in the low 7K range. So yeah, I you know, from a like a balanced lineup perspective or a core lineup, 50-50, whatever you want to call it, SCHAUFFELE, SPIETH, Matsuyama, those guys should be, and even Cantlay, those are great starting points.
How about some guys with longer odds, also cheaper salaries in DFS that you might be targeting, not necessarily to win outright, but some top 20 finishes?
Yeah.
How else you're going to bet this event?
I mean, so, okay, we kind of went over like the top of the board. We got Xander.
Yeah.
You know, you could certainly add like a Matsuyama to start off a double like that. I'm definitely going to take a look at like Berger, potentially in that mid-range. Excuse me. And there are some other players in there that you could obviously look at. I mean, Sam Burns at plus 5,000 is a player who's got a plenty of upside. I'm just not sure if he's like where some of the other players are. I mean, like, you know, even Berger posted like a top 25. I don't even know if Burns has that necessarily since the Masters. So, but if you're looking further back, I mean, let's go through the odds here and just see where people are at on DraftKings. You know, Matt Kuchar is a player I have some interest in this week. Plus 8,000, plus 650 to top 10. I wish these odds were a little bit bigger, but you know, and again, we can think about this from DFS perspective too, which you have up right now, which is actually perfect because Matt Kuchar is only 6,800 in DFS.
Wow. Okay. I was just going to say, like, I'm having trouble finding him.
Yeah,
wow.
He's 6,800. And you know, the argument against Kuchar this week is this course is too long for him. It's 7,500. It's a par 70, but
nice performance last week.
It's got a lot of dog legs. And the thing is about these longer courses, you're seeing, and I think you're seeing this a little bit more, even old guys like Kuchar are kind of hitting it like 300 now because the technology is just so ridiculous and these guys are in such good shape and they just concentrate on this. I'm not sure if the distance is going to affect guys like Kuchar as much as people think it might. And again, this comes back to the setup somewhat too, where there's dog legs. Power is going to be de-emphasized on the par fives because they're so long. It's a 3-shot hole for everyone. I just wonder if guys like Kuchar, who are going to find some fairways and are striking their irons pretty well, like he is really, really putting well and doing well around the greens right now. But the iron play is picked up too. And I just wonder if like, maybe this is it for Matt and maybe it kind of comes together this week. At the very least, I definitely like him in DFS. 6,800 there. And I think he's a player you should be looking to pile in on. Like if you get you're looking at like top 10 bets, maybe even matchup bets. Like I don't even mind like looking at Kuchar, like who he's matched up against eventually. I just like him this week. I think he's playing well. I think again, with how small these greens are.
Yeah. Finau, Niemann, Power, Burns is his.
That's interesting. I mean, that's Well, you know, I actually don't hate that. I mean, Finau,
well, and look, it is to your point. His odds reflect that. It's plus 350. He's right there with Power, but not a big drop off from Burns and Niemann.
No, and Burns and Power. I mean, again, those are players I don't mind going up against. Niemann didn't play that great last week. He actually didn't strike the ball that well last week, and then you just really have to worry about Finau, who's kind of a top 10 machine in majors. But there's probably better ways to play Kuchar than take him in the group. You know, if you could find him in like a tournament matchup. Like straight up, which they might not have out yet or whatever. But
true. Yep.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. I just like Matt Kuchar this week. You also just take him top 20 or top 40. Actually, you know what? Check what Matt Kuchar's top 40 odds are.
Here we go.
I bet you they're not that bad. I think we passed him. Oh yeah, he's up there. Plus 110. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Plus 110. I think that's a really good bet with how Matt is playing around the greens. I think that with these small greens, everyone's going to be missing them. You've got to have some savvy around there. I think that's going to come into play. And another player who I think very similarly of and has a similar style of game and has actually been playing good for a while now. And this dude is down there. Alex Noren. Yeah. You can get big odds on him. Plus 13,000, plus 10, plus 1,000 to top 10. And I mean, I don't know what his top 40 odds are, but they're obviously going to be bigger than Kuchar's. So like top 40 for Alex Noren, I think is very doable. He played really well again last week. He was like 12th in strokes gained off the tee. He's gained strokes on approach in 8 of his last 9 starts. Like, he is playing good golf. And this is a player in Alex Noren, much like Kuchar. And this is kind of why I like these guys. These guys can gain like 8 strokes putting in the blink of an eye because they are so good around the greens. And I'm telling you, on these fast bent grass greens, man, it would not shock me to see one or maybe even both of these guys pop up in like the top 15 of the tournament this week because they're playing good golf. And I'm just not sure how big the distance disadvantage is necessarily going to be for them this week. So like both these guys, I think for DFS, again, we're playing, you're playing a little bit of the you're relying on a good putting week. These guys are a little bit more putting based, but I like the way they're playing, especially Noren of late. And I'm just telling you, like they will keep their heads in it. They'll keep grinding. And I think both these guys very good, especially if you're making like made cut parlays too. That's another thing to think about. So again, players who aren't going to be on a lot of people's, like, you're not going to hear a ton of talk about them. They're not flashy, good young players, but they're just grinders. And we see this, like even at Winged Foot in 2020, when conditions were tough, Zach Johnson popped in the top 10 there. Louis Oosthuizen was in the top 10 there. Like, it's just, you've got to be able to grind a little bit around the greens on these tougher setups. So I think Southern Hill is going to play very similar to that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think to put it simply, at this time of year when we've had so many tournaments and events under the belt, like who is playing well at this time of year? And Noren is someone who clearly demonstrates that.
And ever since this event has been moved to May too, that's the other thing with the PGA Championship. We've really seen that. Like it's a momentum thing. Like either you have it or you don't coming into May. I know Phil was like the huge exception to that last year, obviously, but Brooks, when he won it, the first time it was played in May, it was a very big, just like a momentum thing. And even if you looked at the leaderboard that year, it kind of just, told you the story. So I think you're going to see a similar result. We've got like 5 or 6 good players. Then we have some longer shots, like I went over, who are also playing well, but I think you're going to see the cream rise to the top. Probably someone in like a Spieth, Xander, maybe even like a Justin Thomas, maybe even Scheffler just wins again. But it'll probably be someone who we've already seen pop up. I don't think that you're necessarily going to see a huge shock winner, but you could see someone who's just a little bit under the radar come through.
Noren plus 140 to finish top 40.
It's not bad. You put him and Kuchar, maybe. I don't even mind betting both those guys. I mean, if you did bet both those guys and they even just one comes through, you're assuming like 1 unit on both. You're making a little bit of money at least. But
what about the winner last week, Lee, at plus 180? Like, are you any interest in riding his hot streak here? Well, hot streak at that event, but
yeah,
hot streak playing well last week.
It's with players like KH Lee where I feel like the difference in courses will show up. I mean, KH Lee, obviously like a pretty solid iron player.
How's he doing putting? And
definitely like playing well. And yeah, putting can be very hit or miss for KH Lee. And again, like that's the difference between him and Matt Kuchar or like an Alex Noren, where KH Lee, like if his putter is off in a major championship setup, I mean, he'll miss the cut by like 4 strokes. But you're like, that's probably not, because his around the green game just isn't as good as like a Noren or a Kuchar's. And you're going to need, like, this isn't an event where you're going to get like 85% greens in regulation like last week. Everyone's missing the greens here. So if you don't have that other part of your game that can save you, like Kuchar or Noren, again, like you almost have to be looking at these guys like poker hands. Like, how many outs do I have with KH Lee? Either he's smashing the ball, hitting a ton of greens, or he's missing the greens, and he's probably like 3-putting because the greens are so fast. Whereas with Noren and Kuchar, even if their iron games aren't like 100% like going, they can just save you because they're so good around the greens and they can sink a million putts. So that's kind of how you got to approach these courses, these events, at least in my opinion. Yeah, KH Lee, I mean, I don't know. He's a pure momentum play. I won't be shocked if he like makes the cut or even plays well, because he was striking really well last week, but this is a completely different setup. And if he starts to miss a few greens, he will miss the cut.
All right. Tiger Woods. Thoughts?
I mean, Like, I want to say Tiger has a chance this week. You know, what
By the way, hold on. Let me say this. Let me just say this quick, okay? And I'm giving the news part to people watching.
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Tiger Woods was quoted today that he surgically repaired his right leg. That's okay. He already
By himself?
did that. Yeah, by himself. His surgically repaired right leg is stronger than it was at the Masters 5 weeks ago. All those hills he walked, he made it even. It came out stronger. It's only going to keep getting stronger. Woods said, "The more I use it, the more strength it gains." What is he? Is he Iron Man? Like, what is he? Is this a Marvel movie? So he feels good. He feels good, Jeff. Continue.
I mean, the dude is that's a good tidbit. I like it, and this all leads to my whole plan for the whole.
And real quick, the only reason why I do that because people think, well, they're just talking about Tiger. Like, there's context behind it. That's a quote that came out today.
Look, listen. I think it's appropriate to talk about Tiger this week, like in a DFS and betting environment.
Okay.
I still am not to a point where I'm like that interested, but it's more appropriate to talk about him here than it was at the Masters.
Yes.
I know he still I know he's played one event, but like you said, this dude, if anybody knows how to rehab his body back into shape, it is Tiger Woods. The dude's just put himself together back so many times. Excuse me, I shouldn't have been drinking ginger ale during the show, but look, Tiger Woods, like you said, he's going to get stronger. I think that if you're looking for a Tiger prop to bet, you can look maybe at those top 40 odds.
Okay.
Again, like, I'm not sure if you're even going to get even money on them or what.
Does it see, I bet you now at this point, all the casual golf bettors are like, oh, where's the Tiger Woods make or miss the cut this time around? Because that was the popular bet that everyone was on. He's at minus 110, top 40.
Yeah, no, and people were obviously, you know, the sharps were like, oh yeah, the miss Tiger cut, that's the best play on the board. Wasn't so good. It was actually really good value.
The sharps were right until Julian Edlow decided to bet it, and then
that's actually true. That's right. It was Edlow's fault. He's like, oh, I don't make many golf picks, but I'm gonna make one.
When I do,
I'm a sports betting guy. Get out of here, Julian. Anyways, he wasn't the only one who got sucked into that, but
it's true.
I think playing Tiger Woods to top 40 is completely fine. And the other thing is, I actually don't hate Tiger from a DFS perspective. I think a lot of people will still just like, I mean, I couldn't even remember with Tiger. Like, people just browse over Tiger Woods this week and be like, okay, well, it's cool. Tiger's in the field. I'm not going to play him. But, you know, you look at this event and how it's going to be scored for DFS. There's not many birdies. So placing is a big deal of it. And is there really anybody better than just like grinding out 4 rounds than Tiger Woods? Like, if Tiger makes the weekend, I mean, he's going to try and move up. Absolutely, dude. Like, just kind of like he did, you know, at the Masters. So, you know, you can take his finish at Augusta for what it was. It was a guy who hadn't played competitive golf in a while, but I guarantee you making the cut there gave him confidence. Like, coming out and shooting 71, that gave him some confidence. He's definitely spent the last 3 to 4 weeks just kind of building off that. And I'll actually be surprised if he doesn't make the cut here this week. I won't say shocked, but I'll be actually surprised if he doesn't make the cut. So I actually like Tiger from DFS. If you're going to bet him, I don't know if I get too crazy. I think a little top 40 bet, maybe you parlay him or something. I don't know, but that's how I would be looking at Tiger. Still not ready to take him in the outrights. I still think, though, you got the Open Championship in July, St. Andrews. Oh, I'm telling you, man, get some futures on Tiger at some point. You won't regret it. I think he'll be in the mix there when it comes to St. Andrews. What's his odds? Yeah, bring it up quickly. They won't be that long.
Plus 4,000.
Wow, that's not even bad. It's an Open Championship course, man. Tom Watson almost won the Open Championship at 59. You're telling me Tiger Woods can't win the Open again? Oh, those are good odds. I'm just going to say it straight up. Those are good odds.
Okay, good.
And you know what? Those odds will not get longer than that, I don't think, either. Unless, like, he gets in another car accident.
And those odds, 40 to 1, the same exact odds that everyone thought was a good idea. And by everyone, I mean like, oh, look, Tiger's playing in the Masters plus 4,000. Yeah. Got to get, no. That was not, those were not good odds. We had to see what it looked like. And we'll see what he looks like this week too. But he's certainly someone you got to, and look, that's the thing, right? He played well. He played well for what happened. He played well at the Masters. So I think it's definitely worth discussing. And he's also just tremendous theater, drama, whatever.
Absolutely.
Fill in the blank with any word synonym of that. What do you say we go to hockey? You good? You're going to be back Wednesday with the golf guys. Reed,
for sure. No, we'll be back obviously on the slate with more golf talk on Wednesday. It'll be pretty much all golf. I guarantee it. We'll try and go even longer. I'm just trying to think if there's any other things. I mentioned my guys with KUCHAR in there and Alex Noren. Another guy I don't mind for like a top 20 kind of play here is Sergio Garcia. He's been playing very consistent. Again, striking the ball really well late, especially off the tee. You know what you're getting with him. So like those are three guys I'm looking at for like top 20 bets as well. KUCHAR, Noren, and Sergio. I think Noren's got the longest odds of plus 400. Sergio plus 400 too. So, you know, you could combine those two maybe, or KUCHAR at plus 275, shorter odds. So I don't know. A Sergio Noren, top 20, you hit on one again, you bet both, you hit on one, you profit. It's kind of I don't mind that play this week.
Okay. Very good. All right. We have got 4 hockey games over the next 2 days, meaning Tuesday and Wednesday. No hockey, no basketball tonight, but we got to look ahead to the hockey, and it's worth doing so because maybe you look at the lines here, series lines for these would be conference semifinal matchups. It's so confusing because the NBA is now in conference finals and hockey's a little bit behind. Anything jump out to you with the hockey?
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit pre-show, but I'm a little bit surprised at how long the odds are on the St. Louis Blues
for the series line,
shouldn't be,
right? Or for the series winner.
Yeah. I think that Colorado has definitely scared the books a little bit just with how dominant they were, because if I can remember correctly, I don't even think Colorado was this heavy a favorite to beat Nashville. Maybe it was around the same number, but even if
go ahead, keep going. I'll find it.
Even if it was the same number, like St. Louis is a far better team than Nashville. I mean, they are far better. Their offense is not to be trifled with. They have great special teams. Colorado at times have struggled on the penalty kill too during this season. So, the Blues power play certainly gave the Wild some trouble. They roll 3 really balanced lines. They'll be able to stay in shootouts. Their goaltending with Jordan Binnington popped up. I mean, I'm not necessarily calling for the upset here, but I think the Blues just aren't getting very much respect. You could play the Blues at plus 290 and then try and hedge or something. But what about even the Blues, just to take it to 6 games? Like St. Louis plus 1.5 games. I mean, you're getting plus 150 there. I don't know. I mean, yeah. I don't mind taking some Blues, props to kind of extend this beyond 5 games.
Okay, I'm going to ask producer Eamon if he can help us out because I can't find it. What was the series winner? Colorado, Nashville. How large of a favorite was Colorado to win the series? No series line, no series spread. What else we got? So we got the Florida matchup. How are you feeling about your future on the Oilers? They handled their business there, and they didn't make it easy, of course. As you kind of hinted at that. You were like, these guys are going to make it tough, but I mean, LA hung in there for a little bit.
Yeah, no, they did. It is a catch-22. Like the Oilers did their Oiler thing where, they lost game 5, and it was just like, okay, my God, this team just cannot get it together. But they did the tough thing, and they went and won on the road in LA, and then they put together one of the most complete games they probably put in game 7. They really limited the opportunities to the Kings. That game could have easily been 4-5-0. In my opinion, the Oilers had crossbars they hit. And it's really interesting, man. They were one shot away from taking on the Dallas Stars here. And I don't know, man. I really would have been all over the Oilers if they had been taking on the Stars, but I still kind of like them against the Flames here. Again, Calgary is a good team. They're a very, very good team. But part of their success this year has been on extremely hot shooting from their second and third lines. And I'm talking like 10% above like career expectations for some of these guys. Andrew Mangiapane, one of the main ones there, but it's interesting because the Flames really didn't score at all in that first series, and they're going up against an Oilers team they're going to put up 5 goals in a couple games. Like, I feel fairly confident saying that. So it'll be interesting, man. I think this one definitely has the hallmarks of being a very, very back and forth, up and down series. You know, you could even see one of these teams get out in front and then the other one kind of make a run back. But
Jeff, I found it, by the way.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Give me the info.
Avs were minus 500 to win the series.
So a little bit bigger. Again,
Predators plus 375, but so that number is closer to the plus 290.
Yeah, and again, like I still don't think that gives the Blues enough credit. Like,
yeah,
you know, I just think they should be like plus 200, maybe like plus 220 or something. It's probably not that big a gap, but yeah, they should definitely. It just stands out to me that the Blues are there. And again, I really don't hate taking some Blues, like, you know, to maybe push it past 5 games. So you can always look at that, but yeah, to this Calgary Edmonton series, super interesting. Again, like you're getting the Oilers at like plus 1.5 games at minus 130. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I think you could even just take Edmonton straight up at plus 160. People are pretty big on the Flames, and I think like it's interesting. The Oilers are kind of a publicly bet team in a lot of ways, but I think that like when they're going into this series, I'm not actually sure if there's going to be like a ton of money. Even just looking at the splits for game 1, there's more money and more bets coming in on the Flames. So like the Flames are the team here who are getting some public attention. Like they're kind of become more public darlings here than the Oilers, who people just kind of look at and be like, well, you barely got to pass the Kings, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's just the way the Oilers are. So this is an interesting one. I don't think the odds are like super crazy. I mean, obviously Calgary should be favored here. They're the higher seed. A lot of advanced stats in their favor, especially 5-on-5, but Oilers power play. The Oilers played better down the stretch too. So that's like short-term form. And again, just the scoring regression from the Flames, if that continues and Mike Smith starts to play above expectation like he did in the first series, I really think the Oilers have a legit shot here. So looking at them on the spread or just straight up, I'm about that side on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I no doubt. I think Dallas, well, I don't know. Who do you think was a tougher opponent for each of those teams, Dallas or LA? Meaning, who do you think's better?
Yeah, LA yeah. No, I mean, that it's kind of a tough question.
It's close, right?
I mean,
maybe not.
Oh, they're kind of different teams in a lot of ways. That's why I'm struggling. Yeah. I'd actually say LA is the better 5-on-5 team, but Dallas is probably the better team overall. They have a little bit more top end talent, and yeah, their defense. I'd say Dallas. I think Dallas was. I had Dallas to win that series, so right. I obviously thought pretty highly of them. So I would say Dallas pretty confidently. The tougher test for sure. Yep.
I only asked that because the way it's a way of transitioning the conversation to the way Edmonton just can turn it up offensively.
Yeah.
I'm curious as if now does Calgary, from a defensive standpoint, do they have the anchors on that end to, I mean, you mentioned Mike Smith, but can Edmonton turn it on the way it did against LA in that series against this Calgary team?
Yeah, no. And look, if there's like a contrarian move in this series, it's legitimately to take the Flames to win in like 5 or less. Because there is an outcome here where maybe the Oilers get banged up a little bit. Their depth gets knocked off. Mike Smith comes back down to earth, and like they just lock up Connor McDavid, and this thing is over quickly. I think I think that what we saw from the Oilers the last 20 games of the season, I don't think that outcome is that likely. So it's not likely enough for me to anyways think about taking that, but that is definitely like an outlook where I can see that happening. It's at least something I can imagine happening, mainly because it's the Oilers and they're so, kind of manic, but I really do feel like Connor McDavid's record against the Flames as well. You'll see this team.
What is it? Do you know what
It's
it
just
is?
very good.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
It's yeah, from a statistical, he's based, it's regular season stuff though. And some of it's against Calgary when they had bad teams. So, but typically.
You mean statistically his numbers historically against them. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's kind of just owned them, quite frankly. Yeah. But again, that's neither here nor there. We're in the playoffs now. So anyways, yeah, that's definitely an outlook. And look, if you're heavy on the Flames, like you should play them to win in 5 because it's the Oilers. Like if you're really big and you just think that like I'm talking nonsense about the Oilers being able to break through here, then bet the other side and bet them hard because Calgary is still a good team. And if their scoring picks up again, maybe that is the outcome. But I don't know. I think Edmonton, with what they showed me the last 20 games, I think they're prepared to make this a close series and potentially grab it.
Outside of Colorado, it really is difficult to pick any of these NHL teams to win a series in less than 7, less than 6 or 7, right? Based on how that last round just went, right? I mean, we had 5 game 7s in the NHL. 5 of the 8 series went to a game 7.
Yeah.
So
no, and it is funny because like the first round, I didn't think there would be that much parity in the first round. I really thought that you'd see.
Well, in the East, I'm not surprised because I thought it was really even.
Yeah, you're right. It's more of a Western thing, I guess.
Yes.
So, I mean, but these series coming up, sometimes when we get to the second round too, is when we see these sweeps in the NHL because that one team is just like more beat up than we realize.
Right.
And they kind of just, wave the white flag. But I don't know if we'll see that in this one, man. Like most of these teams are pretty healthy. Like the Blues are, like I said, like playing really good offensively. And then you've got like the Battle of Florida with Tampa Bay and Florida.
Yeah.
So I think the Panthers getting by the Lightning.
Wow, that was everyone. That was the Jeff Ulrich mean face. Wow.
Kind of quiet down the ruffians, man.
That head turn, very slow, deliberate head turn. It's like watching an instant replay in slow-mo.
The Florida Panthers, I think, gained a lot of confidence from getting by the Washington Capitals. And like maybe the Capitals weren't the greatest team, but I really thought the Capitals were going to squeak that series out after they won game 1. Like that was I thought the Florida may just be one and done. And now they're getting the Lightning with a banged up Braden Point who may not even play. I think I'm actually surprised at this line. I think that Florida is getting a little bit disrespected at -150. They were, to me, like clearly the better team during the regular season. They had a good depth. The one area of concern is obviously like the goaltending and Vasilevsky, but I think that, taking Florida on the spread, even like to finish this off in 6, that's something I'd be interested in.
Wow. And
Tampa a very deep team. Like
Tampa will be very public, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So
they're the underdog. They've got better odds. Everyone believes they're like invincible in the playoffs. And it almost feels like this Braden Point news is just like getting swept under the rug or something. Like it's a big deal for the Lightning not to have Braden Point in the lineup. So I look at Florida as pretty good value. And I like that to cover -1.5 games.
Right. And plus you're coming out of a series where against Toronto, I know, say what you want about Toronto and their struggles in the postseason historically, but that was it's a pretty darn even series, right?
It was really even. And that's the other thing about Tampa Bay. Like they won the series, but like, it wasn't like they went in there and just like dusted them off. Like they had chances to win that series. Like they were up and they were down. They didn't exactly play their best hockey for every game. So, to me, the Panthers are the team on a roll here. And this is to me with the Panthers too, the pressure's kind of off because this team was so much expectation going to that first round. For them to bounce back after losing game 1, win the series, I think I like the Panthers in this one.
Coming out of the first round, do you have a new favorite team to win the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, just looking at overall futures here. Yeah, actually, let's go over that.
Avs at +190. Florida files in next at +380. Calgary, you got Edmonton, at +1800, right? So they're +1200 now.
Yeah, yes. And +800 to win the conference.
Win the West. What are they at now? They must be
They're plus 550 right now. So
Okay, there you go. So you get some value. That's good.
Looking at Stanley Cup, like, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd probably target the East, and the Rangers at plus 1300.
They're the
I think
team
I'd
of
rather
destiny.
take them. I think I'd rather take the Rangers at plus 600 to win the conference.
Yeah.
Because again, we're just thinking ahead, hedging opportunities and stuff like that. I think the Rangers are live against the Hurricanes. I like the Hurricanes, but like Igor Shesterkin is the best goalie in the world. And when you have the best goalie in the world, man, like, things can happen. The Rangers showed better depth. They made some really good acquisitions at the deadline. I think the Rangers could definitely get by the Hurricanes. And I'm not necessarily betting the Hurricanes either. I do like them as a team, but I think the Rangers at plus 600 are an interesting bet. You get them in the Eastern Conference Final, and then maybe you get a good hedging opportunity. As far as like Stanley Cup odds, that winner of the Calgary Edmonton series probably gonna have. I think they'll be at least live against Colorado. I mean, I really do. I mean, Edmonton played Colorado tough down the stretch twice.
Yes. Yep, I remember that.
I don't know. I mean, I think that I don't want to keep beating like.
Edmonton has the horses, though.
I don't want to keep saying Oilers, but like at plus 1200, man, like I feel like that's kind of where you have to go if you're taking a team. I don't know. You get maybe the Blues, take the Avalanche to 6 and they beat them up a little bit and someone gets injured. The Oilers, get past the Flames and then, you get McDavid on a high or something like, that's probably where I would go on the Western side or just really for the Cup odds. I think I'd take a look at Edmonton.
Okay, very good. Figure that's a good time to reset considering we're through a round and now we've got second round action starting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right, like with the series odds out right now, I'm kind of more interested in that, but it's always good to just look at the futures and think about what you can get.
Right.
Again, you get Edmonton at plus 1200 in a series with Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
There's even
right. And the Rangers, right? The Rangers knock off a quality opponent that's been there before, right? I mean,
I think the Rangers are definitely live to at least get to the finals. And if they get to the finals, I mean, again, like, you get them at plus 600. It's the same play that I made with the Oilers at plus 800. You just, Shesterkin steals you game 1 or something, and then you can hedge out or something. I mean, there's a ton of different ways you can play it. You can even just ride it out.
There you go. Okay, everybody, that's going to do it for the Monday edition of the Slate. We return tomorrow, same time, just after 5 o'clock. We'll take you up just before 6. We will have basketball tomorrow. We have a game 1 Celtics and Heat Eastern Conference Finals tomorrow. And
who's winning that?
Oh, it's Boston. It's Boston, Golden State.
Boston and Golden State. Eh?
I don't know. Luka's pretty good though, and I think they match up pretty well with the Warriors. So. Oh, but Golden State at home. How do you pick against Golden State at home? Home court advantage.
Boston has to be cheering for Dallas, though, right? I mean,
yeah, but historically, if you go back and look the last 5 years, Celtics have played Golden State very well. They would be very good games.
You know what? That would be a really good series.
Yeah,
that's what I'm cheering for because I think that would be the best finals. I think that'd be a really good finals, actually.
Yeah, I think Luka, if he gets there, could be very similar to LeBron when LeBron first got to the finals back in like 2007. He got there and just got steamrolled.
Had to do everything himself, and yeah,
exactly right. So Luka's good, and their supporting cast has been really good too. That loss last night might have been more about the Suns than it was about the Mavs. With all due respect to the Mavs. Anyway, you'll get basketball tomorrow with Kaufman, Sherrod, and Matt Meiselman. So. Look forward to Celtics pajamas, Celtics PJs, and
no kidding.
Celtics talk for 45 minutes, and then maybe Mavs Warriors. I'll be
back. The Celtics. Haven't you heard of them?
Okay. Thanks to Eamon and Daniel behind the scenes. For Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen. Oh, by the way, more golf. We did a lot of golf on this show. Golf back on Wednesday, so you'll have Reed, Jeff, and Emerson to get you ready for the Players. For the PGA Championship. So yes, look forward to that on Wednesday. And again, Jeff's article is up on the DK Playbook now. The preview, the cheat sheet, looking ahead to this weekend. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again very soon. Have a good night.
At the Fantasy Grind, you can follow me there.
There you go.